that experience was just pretty dreamy.
We're very good friends. I love her so much. She's an adorable, wonderful person.
If either of you were to ever engage with a real life matchmaker, what would be one non-negotiable for you?
I don't like not an.
In a world obsessed with viral proposals, red carpet PDA, and breakup tweets, there was one Hollywood couple that chose silence. For nearly 8 years, Dakota Johnson and Chris Martin lived out their love story away from the cameras, away from the noise, and far from the spotlight. No flashy engagement ring reveals, no dramatic interviews, no curated Instagram posts, just two people quietly building something real until it quietly fell apart. What happened to Hollywood's most mysteriously private couple? Why did a love so intentional and grounded suddenly come undone? Let's rewind to the beginning and uncover what really ended Dakota Johnson and Chris Martin's quiet romance, the whisper of a beginning. It all began quietly, so quietly that most people barely noticed at first. In October 2017, Chris Martin was spotted at a small sushi restaurant in Los Angeles. The lighting was dim, the corner table tucked away, and yet sharp-eyed onlookers still managed to recognize the Coldplay frontman. What caught more attention, however, was the woman seated across from him, Dakota Johnson. The photos that emerged were grainy, captured from a distance, but the headlines they sparked were loud and fast. People were asking the same question. Were Chris Martin and Dakota Johnson dating? At the time, both of them were in transitional periods in their personal lives. Chris had finalized his divorce from Gwyneth Paltrow just a year earlier. Dakota had recently ended her relationship with musician Matthew Hitt. Both knew what it meant to love in the public eye and how much it could take from you. Then came the second clue. Dakota was seen backstage at a Coldplay concert in Buenos Aires, not seated in a VIP section or mingling with press, but quietly positioned near the sound booth. Observers noted she was smiling, moving with the music, completely at ease. Wasn't just a casual concert drop-in, felt personal, familiar. This wasn't tabloid fantasy, it was something real unfolding behind closed doors. By late 2017, it was clear this wasn't a one-off dinner or a passing phase. Chris and Dakota were seen together in Los Angeles, in New York City, and even in London, where Coldplay was recording. She wasn't just visiting, she was present, woven into the rhythm of his life. Still, neither of them said a word publicly. No statements, no confirmation. And that silence made their connection feel even more genuine. The bond between them didn't need announcement. It simply existed. A love built in the shadows. As 2018 began, what started as speculation evolved into something deeper and more certain. Chris Martin and Dakota Johnson weren't just dating. They were finding a shared rhythm, one that made sense in the chaos of their individual worlds. They were seen again, this time arriving in Chris's car at Soho House, Malibu. Friends described their dinner as warm and lighthearted, filled with laughter, shared stories, and subtle moments of closeness. Later that week, they were spotted walking side by side along a quiet Malibu beach. The photos captured more than just a romantic stroll. They showed comfort, trust, and a growing connection. Those close to the couple began to describe their relationship as intentional. It wasn't built around premieres or headlines. Instead, it was about private moments, genuine conversations, and a pace that suited them both. There was no rush to label or explain anything. Even their public appearances, what little they allowed, were carefully chosen. At Stella McCartney's fashion show, they skipped the main entrance entirely. Instead, they used a private door, avoiding photographers. But inside, those who saw them noted their closeness, the way they stood together, the way their eyes met during small conversations. Nothing performative, just natural chemistry. Then, love didn't need an audience, it only needed space to grow, becoming family. Then came a major milestone, Thanksgiving. Not just any dinner. Dakota joined Chris, his ex-wife Gwyneth Paltrow, Gwyneth's husband Brad Falchuk, and their kids, Apple and Moses, for a family holiday. Unconventional? Absolutely. But to those close to them, it worked. Chris and Gwyneth were redefining what a post-divorce family looked like, and Dakota was right there in the heart of it. In January 2020, Gwyneth even publicly stated that she adored Dakota. Not tolerated, adored. That kind of acceptance was rare especially in Hollywood, and then their love spilled over into their work. In early 2020, Dakota directed Coldplay's music video for Cry Cry Cry. She pitched the concept like any other director. No special treatment. Coldplay said yes. The result was a personal, emotional project that blurred the line between love and creativity. The ring that said everything. That same year, fans noticed a bold emerald ring on Dakota's finger. The speculation exploded. Was it an engagement ring? No confirmation, no denial. But to those watching closely, the signs were there. By 2021, sources confirmed the couple had moved in together. Dakota left the Hollywood Hills behind for Malibu, trading city lights for ocean breezes. Their days were filled with beach strolls, quiet dinners at local restaurants, and family nights with Gwyneth and the kids. They had created a sanctuary away from flashing cameras, away from headlines, and it was working. They never officially confirmed an engagement, but the ring stayed, and so did the rumors. To Dakota and Chris, titles didn't seem to matter. The bond was enough. Growing in the shadows. By the time the world settled into a new rhythm after the lockdowns, Chris Martin and Dakota Johnson remained exactly where they had always been, quietly present, but never loud. As other celebrity couples shared their lives on social media, these two continued to live in the background, choosing moments over publicity. Their romance, though rarely discussed, never faded from view. In March 2023, Chris gave fans a rare glimpse into their private life during a Coldplay concert. Speaking to the crowd, he mentioned a new piece of technology that had made the band's shows more inclusive for people with hearing impairments. He didn't elaborate, but gently credited Dakota for introducing the idea. It wasn't a grand tribute. It was quiet and proud, the kind of acknowledgement that speaks volumes without needing to be repeated. Their love wasn't performative, it was lived, day by day, far from flashing lights. While fans speculated about their status, those close to them described a steady, respectful partnership built on shared values, creativity, and personal space. In early 2024, the couple was spotted taking a trip to Mexico just after Valentine's Day. There were no posed photos, no beachside hand-holding for the cameras, just the two of them, enjoying time together in their usual, understated way. Notably, during this getaway, the emerald ring was nowhere to be seen. It sparked a fresh round of speculation. Had something changed? Were they still engaged? But their bond appeared strong. Sources at the time said the trip was peaceful, relaxing, and full of warmth. For Chris and Dakota, it wasn't about proving anything to the public. It was about staying connected on their own terms. Their approach to love remained consistent. Quiet presence, mutual respect, and a firm boundary between their private life and the public eye. And for years, that silence worked. It protected their relationship from outside pressure, until eventually, it didn't. The beginning of the end. By early 2024, whispers returned, but this time, they felt heavier. An insider confirmed what many had already assumed. Chris and Dakota had been secretly engaged for years. The emerald ring wasn't just a fashion choice, it meant something. But oddly, instead of bringing clarity, it created more distance. As the months passed, something shifted. There were no new sightings, no subtle nods of affection, no signs that they were still walking side by side. The silence, once their strength, now felt different, like something had gone quiet for too long. Their representatives denied any issues. One said, they are happily together. Another added, they've had ups and downs, but things are great now. But fans weren't convinced. For the first time in years, their absence felt noticeable. For a couple who built their relationship on quiet connection, the lack of even a small sign was telling. A silent farewell. Then, in June 2025, the truth finally surfaced. Multiple sources confirmed what many feared. Chris Martin and Dakota Johnson had ended their relationship. There was no announcement, no social media statement, no interviews, just quiet confirmation from those close to them. But even in the end, there was grace. At a Coldplay concert shortly after the news broke, Chris took a brief moment during the encore. He didn't mention Dakota by name, but his words carried weight. Be kind to each other. Don't forget to go see The Materialists.
Thank you so much, everybody. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to each other. Don't forget to see Materialists. We love you.
A simple gesture, subtle but heartfelt. For those listening closely, it was more than just a shout-out. It was a goodbye wrapped in respect. Their love had never needed a stage, And even in parting, they stayed true to that. No chaos, no bitterness, just a quiet closing chapter to a relationship that had always been more real than most ever knew. Their story didn't unfold in magazine spreads or Instagram posts. It was never about red carpets or staged moments. From the very beginning, Chris Martin and Dakota Johnson made a conscious choice to protect what they had by keeping it private. For nearly 8 years, they built a life together in the quiet corners of Malibu, away from the cameras. Their relationship thrived, not because of attention, but in spite of it. They valued simplicity over spectacle. Walks on the beach, shared dinners, and mutual support became the rhythm of their connection. They didn't make grand announcements, but their bond was felt in the way they showed up for each other. Through family dinners, creative collaborations, and thoughtful gestures that didn't need an audience. Even as engagement rumors came and went, they never rushed to explain or correct. Their love was personal, it wasn't for show. And when it ended the same way it began, quietly, respectfully, and without fanfare. There were no public disputes, no long statements, just a mutual parting of ways between two people who had once shared something deeply meaningful. It's rare to see a relationship in the spotlight handled with so much care and intention. Chris and Dakota reminded us that real connection doesn't need to be loud to be strong, that love can be deep even when it's not constantly displayed, and that sometimes, even when a relationship doesn't last forever, it can still leave behind something beautiful. Their chapter may be closed, but the story they wrote together of quiet love, chosen family, and private strength continues to resonate, not because it was perfect, but because it was real.